was Saturday morning when I set off on a solo hike deep in the Silver Pine National Park, a vast maze of poorly marked trails and dense, nearly impenetrable forest. I had planned to spend 2 days alone, far from the city noise, camping near Hollow Lake, a spot I'd found on an old hiking forum. Rarely visited, perfect for those who crave absolute silence, one post had read. After nearly 6 hours of hiking, things started to feel wrong. My phone's GPS flickered in and out, and the trail markers on the trees had completely vanished. I kept walking, trying to follow the terrain on my map, hoping to run into the stream that would lead me to the lake. But instead, through the branches, I spotted a structure, a ranger station, old and forgotten, wooden, weathered, with a steep roof and walls graying from years of rain and snow. One window was shattered. A sign above the door, North Outpost, Division 7, hung crooked, attached by a single rusted nail. Relief and unease hit me at the same time. I knocked out of habit. No answer. The door, swollen with moisture, gave way with a stiff creak. Inside, it was dark and musty. The air reeked of mold and decay. There were broken tables, overturned drawers, rusted coffee mugs, and a dead radio receiver. But it was the door in the back, narrow with no handle, that caught my eye. I thought it was just a supply closet, but when I pushed it open, I found a stairway carved directly into solid rock. It was unsettling. Why would anyone build something like that in a remote ranger post? I turned on my headlamp and began descending. The steps were slick, coated in mildew and damp moss. The deeper I went, the colder the air became. At the bottom, a narrow tunnel stretched into darkness. Rough stone walls surrounded me. It didn't look like any official structure, more like a passage dug by hand. The walls were scratched, claw marks gouged into the stone. Whatever had been down there had tried to get out. That's when I heard it. Click, click, click. A sharp rhythmic sound, mechanical but broken, like a faulty metronome. It echoed softly through the tunnel, growing louder with each repetition, and each time it sounded closer. My stomach dropped. The noise had something off about it, like something trying to mimic a familiar sound, but getting it slightly wrong. I rounded a bend and froze. There was something standing at the far end of the tunnel, tall, thin, unmoving. My headlamp flickered, then caught its shape. The figure was human-like, but horribly twisted. Bones bent at unnatural angles, skin pale and stretched thin like plastic over wire. Its head turned slowly from side to side, like a surveillance camera scanning its surroundings. Each movement came with that click, click sound echoing in the stone. It had no eyes, just two hollow sockets, but I knew it could see me. I took a step back. The clicking stopped. Then it started moving toward me, not running, but fast. Its movements were jerky, like broken animation. It shouldn't have been that quick, but it was. I ran. Stumbling, I scrambled back up the stairs. The clicking echoed behind me, faster now. Click, 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 click. I burst through the door, slamming it behind me, heart pounding. And just like that, silence. Outside, the air felt colder. I ran until I couldn't hear the wind or the birds, until the forest swallowed everything. Only when I was far enough from that place did I risk turning around. The ranger station stood still, empty, but for a fleeting second, I swear I saw a shadow in the window. I didn't stop again. That night I didn't set up camp. I walked until I found a known trail, slept with my knife in my hand, and prayed for sunrise. The next morning, once I was certain I was safe, I checked my backpack. I had felt something inside, something light but solid. In the front pocket, I found a smooth stone, perfectly flat. Carved into it were 2 words: I see. Blood Mountain, the highest peak along the Appalachian Trail in Georgia, had always carried a dark reputation. Whispers among hikers told of a mysterious figure who haunted its slopes. A silent man, without gear, never aging, watching from the shadows. Mia and I set out early one morning, eager to reach the Woods Hole shelter before nightfall. The forest was dense, the trail steep and rugged, and the cool mountain air filled my lungs with each breath. The sun was a low orange glow, casting long shadows that danced between the trees. About halfway up the mountain, we noticed a lone figure moving steadily ahead of us. No pack, no gear. Just a man wearing tattered clothes that looked decades old. His gait was unnaturally smooth, almost gliding over the rocky path. He never glanced back, never acknowledged our presence. Mia nudged me and whispered, "Do you see that? Who hikes without a backpack here?" I nodded, my skin prickling. The usual forest sounds seemed to fade, the chirping birds silenced, the breeze stilled. The air felt heavier. "Maybe he's a local," I suggested, but my voice betrayed my doubt. We kept pace but maintained distance, careful not to draw attention. Later, near the shelter, we sat by the fire, trying to shake off the unease. That's when I noticed the shelter's logbook lying open on a bench. Curious, I flipped through the entries until I found one dated just days before. It was a note from a hiker describing an encounter with the same man we'd seen. He's pale, expressionless, like he's not really alive. He watches, doesn't speak, doesn't move like us. It's like he's stuck, forever wandering these woods. Mia swallowed hard. That explains the silence, the strange feeling I had. That night, lying in our tent pitched near the shelter, the forest seemed impossibly quiet. The usual nighttime symphony, crickets, frogs, rustling leaves, was missing. Suddenly I heard it, a soft shuffling just outside. The tent fabric quivered as if brushed by a cold breeze, but the air was still. Mia grabbed my hand. "Did you hear that?" "I did," I whispered. "Stay still." We listened as the footsteps circled the tent, slow and deliberate. Then, a faint voice, barely audible. "You shouldn't be here." I froze. "Who's there?" I called out, voice trembling. No reply, just the heavy silence pressing in. The next morning, a thick fog clung to the treetops. As we packed, I looked up and saw him again, standing just beyond the tree line, watching. I stepped forward cautiously. "Why are you following us?" He didn't respond at first, then slowly turned his head. His eyes, empty, black voids, locked onto mine. "I'm part of this mountain," he said, voice hollow and distant, "bound to these woods, waiting." "Waiting for what?" Mia asked, voice shaky. "To finish the cycle," he replied, "but it never ends." Fear and curiosity warred inside me. I wanted to run, but also understand. "Are you human?" I asked. He smiled, a slow chilling movement that didn't reach his lifeless eyes. "Not anymore." We hurried to leave, the path suddenly feeling suffocating. At the summit, I dared a glance back. He was still there, watching, a silent guardian of the mountain's dark secret. Later, at the ranger station, the keeper's words echoed in my mind. They call him the unfinished cycle. Seen for decades, never aging, always trailing hikers, cursed between worlds, doomed to wander forever. As we descended, I felt eyes burning into my back, a presence that would haunt me long after the hike ended. I needed to get away. No phone, no noise, just me, my tent, and the forest. I chose a remote stretch of the Appalachian Trail, deep in the mountains of North Carolina. 3 days alone, off any marked paths, far from civilization, a test of silence. The first day went smoothly. I set up camp near a small creek, built a fire, and read a few pages of a worn-out book. The night was eerily quiet, too quiet. No animal sounds, no wind, just a thick silence, like the whole forest was holding its breath. The next morning, I decided to explore without a clear path, just following instinct. After about an hour, I came across a perfectly circular clearing, like nature itself had carved it out. The grass was dry and low, and in the center stood an ancient oak tree. From one of its thick branches hung a noose. It was made of rough rope, weathered but surprisingly intact, not old but not fresh either, carefully maintained somehow. I stared at it for a long moment. Then everything changed. The forest around me seemed to stop. Birds went silent, the wind died down, and I felt it, a presence. Not a sound, but a weight, like I was being watched. I spun around. No one there, just trees. But the skin on my neck prickled. Something was very close. I was about to leave when a rustling came from the bushes a few feet away. Not wind. Something was rising. Out stepped a tall, thin figure, clad in bark and tangled leaves. Its face was hidden behind a crude mask made of twigs and dried mud, with hollow eye sockets. But there were no eyes, just black emptiness. The figure didn't speak, didn't move, just stared, and I couldn't breathe. I took a step back, and it took a step forward. I ran. I threw myself into the thicket, scratching my arms and face, running blindly. I heard branches snapping behind me. I screamed, though I don't know why, maybe to prove I was alive, awake, real. When I reached my camp, I collapsed. No one was there, no movement, just silence again. I tore down my tent with shaking hands. I decided then, no way was I staying. But that's when I noticed the signs. Next to my pack, large footprints, bigger than mine, imprinted in the dirt, by the cold fire pit, an object that hadn't been there before. A photo, printed and in color, taken right there, exactly where I'd sat the night before. It was a photo of me, sitting, smiling, taken from afar and behind me, standing just beyond the trees. Someone was watching,